If you look at this particular problem, it looks as though it is a linear equation, or in the same form as the slope-intercept form equation. Remember, that's y equals mx plus b, where m is our slope and b is our y-intercept. It looks very similar, but the only difference is you don't have an equal sign, you have a greater than symbol. So this is what we call an inequality. Okay, remember that in inequality we have an infinite amount of solutions, and in order to show that on a graph, we actually have to shade some area. Okay, and so there's a couple things we need to know. First is that symbol greater than, and then greater than or equal to. Remember, with those two symbols, okay, we are actually shading above. And above what? Well, we'll get to that when we get there, when we start graphing these. And then I have less than or equal to. And both of these, we're shading below. And again, we'll describe that when we actually get to those equations to graph them. But then along with that, we have two other things that we need to make sure we understand. So less than, or greater than or equal to, and less than or equal to, we have a solid line. And then greater than and less than, we have a dotted line. The reason we have dotted lines is because the graph that you would draw is not a solution to that equation, to that inequality, sorry. So that's why it's dotted. It doesn't represent a valid solution. A solid line represents a valid solution. That is why it's solid. So I'm going to graph this the same way I would graphing a linear equation. I'm going to plot -4 first on the y, -4. My slope is -2, or -2 over 1. Then I'm going to go up 2, left 1, or down 2 and right 1. Remember, for positive slope, we have movements of up and right, or down and left. And then for negative slopes, we have up and left, or down and right. Okay, I am using both of the negatives. I went up and left and then down and right. Because of the inequality symbol being greater than, I follow that into my area where it says dotted, so I'm going to draw a dotted line through, and then I look at the y-intercept, which is -4. It's what I graphed originally. Because the symbol says greater than, what numbers are greater than -4? It says shading above. So -3, -2, -1, 0 is bigger. That is why I shade above that particular dotted line. Because all the numbers that are above -4, -3, -2, -1 are above that on the graph. Let's go to the next one. So again, on this particular one, I want to graph this first. So that's at +3 on the y-axis. My slope is 1, or 1 over 1. So I go up 1 over 1, and I can keep going if I want. I can put a whole bunch of dots there. It is greater than or equal to. That means my line is going to be a solid line. Then it's also greater than, which falls in the category of shading above, because 3. What numbers are bigger than 3? 4, 5, 6. So that is why I'm shading above. This particular one is what we call standard form. So I have to move the 3x over to the other side. So how do I do that? Well, I'm going to start with my 3x plus y less than -5. I'm going to bring the 3x over by subtracting it to both sides. So I end up with y is less than -3x minus 5. This is in the same form as the last two equations. I am going to graph them at -5 on the y. I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3, left 1. You notice my movements for negative was up and left or down and right. I can't go down because I'm off the graph. That is why you need to memorize both movements. Now if I look at the symbol, it is a less than, which has two different things. One is it's a dotted line, Okay? And then the other thing it represents, it's shading below. Below means -5. What's below -5? -6, -7. So that is why I'm shading this area here. Okay, again, this is in standard form, so I want to move the numbers that are not the y, or not with the y, to the other side. So I have to subtract 3x. So that's -2y greater than or equal to -3x plus 2. But I need y by itself, so I have to divide by a -2. To everything, not just to 1 or to 2, to everything there. It could be 100 terms, you got to divide it by all. So y, I'm going to leave the sign there, I'll talk about that here in a little bit. This is 3 over 2 because of 2 negatives make it positive, and this is a -1 because positive and negative make a negative. The rule for inequality states that if I multiply or divide by a negative number, then I have to switch the inequality symbol. So it's not greater than or less than anymore, or greater than or equal to anymore, it's now less than or equal to. So now I graph it the same way I have been. Dot at -1, go up 3, 1, 2, 3, over 2, 1, 2. I could have also gone down 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and I place my dot there. It has an equal sign underneath the inequality, so I know that it's a dotted line. And then it's less than, which means I'm shading less than -1. -2, -3, -4. So there you go.